प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्म एधि वेदस्य महाणीस्थ श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेनाहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. May my speech be firmly established in my mind. May the mind too be firmly established in my speech. O self-effulgent Lord, be revealed in my consciousness. May the truths of the scriptures come to me. May not what I learn from them ever forsake me. Let me lead my life day and night according to their teachings. I shall speak what is appropriate. I shall speak the truth. May that protect me. May that protect the teacher. Om. Peace, peace, peace. Let us think of our true, divine, all-pervading nature, our true self. Which is immortal, unchanging, beyond space and time. It is only the addiction and false identification with body makes us feel limited. Let us feel our body like an ice cubes amongst hundreds of ice cubes. This body is one. All are melting. All different shapes. They are coming together. The differences of shape, and sighs are going away. I am seeing the inner reality, which is same in all. Let us feel that in our heart. I am the all-pervading, luminous, blissful existence itself. All ideas of birth and death, I and you, the enjoyer and enjoyed, have vanished. In this all-pervasive, solid, luminous oneness, there is no break in the bliss. There is no lack of love. Om. Peace, peace, peace. So, dear friends, let us begin today's discussion on this very special biography of Sri Ramakrishna, a spiritual biography. But let us begin with our usual opening chant. Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam kavibhiriditam kalmashvapaham Shravanamangalam Shrimadattatam Bhuvi grananti te bhurida janaha. This life of Sri Ramakrishna is so much like ours and yet so different from ours. So much like ours means, well, he has a body like all human beings. He would eat just exactly similar food like all human beings did. He spoke the human language, and he, like human beings, he also suffered from diseases and such issues. He also had his parents and siblings and other relations. He also suffered their bereavement. And yet, what was different? He had no identification with body as I. The body is not I. And we are just caught into this ignorance, thinking that I am body. And thus, whatever is happening to body seem to happen to me. Body will follow all those laws of matter. It is born, it grows, it decays, it dies. So all these things happen to body, and so thus I think it is happening to me. Actually, that is not the case at all. Because of the body and identification with it, I feel this subject-object consciousness, I and the world. And as we had seen this many times before, this is an illusory division. You will never be able to demarcate where I ends and the world begins. Try. Because such a line actually does not exist. It is an illusory line, and this illusion is the basis of all conflicts, contradictions that we face in life. All the sufferings we meet in life, they are all rooted in this imaginary, illusory line, I and the world. Sri Ramakrishna was completely free from that. And we also saw many times that there was no other purpose to his life but to impart this knowledge to others, so that the others will also get over the sufferings and contradictions and will become illumined and blissful. So this is how the inner oneness prompts us to think of others, to distribute, share what good things we have with others. So Sri Ramakrishna, he was ever blissful. The conditions of the body could never tarnish that inner blissfulness. See, that does not happen with us. When the body, even if there is a little headache, what happens? I become sad. Because of the headache, I feel I am now sick. I am not well. It becomes my suffering. Sri Ramakrishna, on the other hand, if you see, in spite of so many physical problems, that the diseases that he underwent, his bliss was never touched by any of that. So, this is something that we all need to get rid of this life of ignorance, life of suffering due to ignorance. So, he is the divine appearing in human form to teach, to bring this knowledge to us. It is, and so his consciousness is to be understood, to be felt, that look how he is. It is therefore called a Leela. The original title of this book is Sri Ramakrishna Leela Prasanga, means the divine play. Leela means play, like a stage show. It is a play. So, when we say, look, Shakespeare wrote so many plays. So, I went to see a play. What does it mean is that it is enacting, it is an assumed identity there. There you see some John Smith is playing the role of Othello. On the stage he is Othello. But actually, even while showing this Othello, he is not forgetting that he is not Othello, he is John Smith. So, as soon as the play is over, that's it. In the play, the person would be dead in the play. But the actor knows that I am not going to die. It is that character in the play, as per the script, is to die. So, the actor has no confusion regarding this. And thus, it is Sri Ramakrishna, a human body is assumed, like in the play, is enacting it, and yet is never identified with it. This is, therefore, why is the play going on? So that the others will learn from it, that they would see that this is human, but has the awareness of the divine. And so you reflect it on yourself. So, I am also human, so inside me again I must be divine too. You get that illumination through example, through seeing the life. We were seeing how Sri Ramakrishna's these living at both these levels, divine and human, very difficult to understand, but we have to make this attempt to see. And in this book, Swami Saradananda, a close associate and disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, who has observed Sri Ramakrishna day and night for quite a few years, and thus has been able to see that divinity from very close quarters, how it is manifesting through that sheath of a human body. So he is trying to convey this to us. He is aware of the difficulty of conveying it, but then he is making an attempt to do that. So now on page 632 we have been reading this paragraph that it is that when the master remained in the normal plane of body consciousness that we occupy, his intellect and powers of observation could thoroughly grasp many more things than ours could, because his mind did not contain even the slightest desire for selfish enjoyment. Now he is not in that plane of samadhi. He is aware of the body. He is working through the body. Like you have put on, say, a shirt. Now you are not the shirt. You are aware of that I am not the shirt, but I am in that shirt, using that shirt. Just to give you an analogy, Sri Ramakrishna has now put on the body. He is aware that I am now this human body has been taken up. Now, since he is not identified or even attached to it, he is able to now use it with all its capacity. This is where he differs from us even at the human plane of living, because our understanding is so colored by the idea that I am this body. Immediately I am the body means now I have so many desires. They are an automatic expression of this ignorance that I am body. I am body? Well, then I am man or I am woman or whatever, and then I have corresponding desires. I feel that this is I, that is something else, and this I have things from the world, feeling that that will make me perfect. The perfection is inside. Perfection is, let us remember this, it is our true nature is perfect. I am divine. That is why Jesus mentions, be you perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. There is no lack. Perfection means there is no desire possible. Desire is an expression of lacking something. That is why I go to get it. When I see that I am perfect, there are no desires. So, that perfection is being experienced by Sri Ramakrishna even when the body is assumed. Not deluded like us that I am this and then I need all these things to get rid of my imperfection. Man thinks, well, without getting a woman I will be imperfect. Woman thinks, without getting a man I will be imperfect. Now just by that, if one becomes perfect, then the world would have been full of all perfect people. But that doesn't happen. That is not at all the cause of imperfection. Imperfection is just delusion. So, and because of the lack of this delusion, Sri Ramakrishna was just able to use this body and without any coloring added. Our vision gets colored because of our desires, and thus we do not see things so keenly in their exact nature. Exact characteristics are not seen by us because our vision is colored by our desires, our the past impressions, all those come into picture, and thus when we see a person or an object, our vision, our understanding is one-sided, biased, and depending on how our desires and previous associations with it are. So, thus we don't understand much, we misunderstand much more than we understand. There is a story that I had told a few times, that it is in my childhood I had read it, that a man was sitting, going somewhere in a bus, and then another guy with a long beard sat by his side. This man looked at him and said, asked, "Have you lost your bedsheet?" "Bedsheet? Well, why this? I don't get, no, I have not lost any bedsheet. But what is the meaning of this sudden question like this?" And this man said, that some time back I had lost a handkerchief. I am a very poor man, so I didn't have money to buy another handkerchief quickly. So what I did was, I didn't shave for a few days to get that much money to buy a handkerchief. So now, seeing your long beard, I thought that you must have lost a bedsheet, not just a handkerchief. Now see, although there is an element of humor in it, it shows that what this man experienced has colored his vision. That if somebody is not shaving, the only reason is that he is saving some money that would have been otherwise used for shaving purposes. So, he is saving up that money. See, this story is from those days when people used to go to barber to get shaved, and so it used to cost a good deal. So, now it is not the case, so we don't understand it so clearly. It is, but this person misunderstands it. So similarly, all of us, because of our prejudices, it is, and the desires that colors our vision. Sri Ramakrishna, bereft of all this, could see the things very clearly and understand much more than we understand. Very keen observation. Those who read Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, that great book of his conversations with devotees, it is there you can see that how minute was his observation on the human plane. So that is being discussed here. So the divine awareness is there, but even the human awareness that he has, the human understanding that he has, is much, much superior to the understanding of ordinary people. That it is the intense desire for sense objects that we all have causes objects of desire to appear shining in front of us at all times, whether we are eating, resting, seeing, hearing, walking, sleeping, or talking with others. A very significant statement, that these desires, they are accompanying us consciously or unconsciously. Whatever we are doing, that desire is mixed with our observation, and thus it gets colored by that tinge is there. I want it. So when I want something, the coloring, what does it remove? I want this. So all the drawbacks of that are hid from my sight. Even if I become aware, I push that awareness. Oh, doesn't matter. It is, I want this means what happens? Certain good things, real or even imagined, they get enhanced and those which are drawbacks or unwanted aspects of it, they are not seen, or even seen, are pushed aside. So one gets fascinated. You can see with children that they get fascinated with certain toys or such things, and then they want it. Even if it is told, no, this is not right for you, parents keep on telling, no, you won't like it afterwards, no, I will like it, no, see, you will throw it away, no, I will never do it. The child age just wants it. And so somehow now the parents usually yield, because what can be done. So after what happens, the child gets tired with it in no time, so the things are thrown away. So this happens. You see with children, the food, they say the child's eyes are more than the actual appetite. So wants to take lot of food on the plate. He says, no, you will not be able to eat so much. No, I will eat. It is so good, so nice. No, don't. I will only live. No, I want more. Now, parents don't want to waste the food. And so at my home, I was being told, okay, remember you have to eat it. If you take it, you have to eat it. Do you get it? And in that childhood, this thing, yes, I get it. I am going to eat all this. Suppose, remember, if you don't eat it, I am going to put it all, I will plaster your head with all that, remember? Oh my goodness. After eating a few morsels, what happens? The tummy is full now. No more saliva is coming to eat. No more food is going inside. And then my mother said, hey, see, did I not tell you? Now, shall I plaster it on your head? Okay. I remember I said that, okay, plaster it. Of course, the mother is not going to do that, but the meaning is this, that, we desire, when that desire becomes so powerful, we don't see that I really don't need it, I really don't want it. Even after we get grown up, there is not so much understanding in many respects. We may get some understanding about our food, but that's it. In many things we go for it, although I don't need it, I get so much attracted, fascinated, addicted, and thus I don't see the drawbacks of it. Many of us, how they get addicted to gambling. Very funny thing that it is, but you get into that. When all money is gone, then you remember, oh, okay, I shouldn't have gone there in the first place. But now should have, could have, and all that makes no sense. It is now a done deal. So this is where the idea that our desires color our understanding. I want. It is just childishness in a grown-up body, that's all. It is for children, it is okay, but when we have become more intelligent, more matured, still the desires, they don't leave us, and thus our understanding becomes all so colored. It is not, therefore, even in the common worldly sense, we do not have knowledge or information. It is misinformation that we get. So this is where Sri Ramakrishna differed, that so we have no opportunity to know the nature of objects and people that we that we ignore. Thus we spend our entire lives making or attempting to make particular things and persons our own. That is why we see in ordinary people such a range in ability to learn. See how different the learning is there. Range means the quantity and quality both. That those who teach in schools, they become quickly aware of this, that the same lesson is being actually imparted by the teacher. How many students were there, Charlie, in your class, say when you were a 6th grader? 30 in a class. Now the teacher is giving the same class to all 30 students. Did all 30 understood the same? Each of those 30 understood different in quantity and difference in quality, both. There were 30 ways in which the information imparted was getting absorbed. So, because the capacity varies, there is the inclination to take one aspect, disinclination to take another aspect. There is the mind is moving all around. The desires are there, even though you are sitting in the class. The other desires have not gone. Just a few days ago, that a school teacher from this Moses Brown school had said that he would like to bring his class here to get some understanding about the interfaith. So I said, oh well, very good, then it will happen sometimes next month. But I asked him that when the children come, shall we give them some snacks when after the class is over? He said, well, I discourage that, because if these kids become aware of the food, if they see the food, the understanding will not be there at all. They desire for food, the mind will keep on going to the food. So I said, no, they won't know about it at all. It is only when they are going out of the class, when they are leaving, then they will pick it up, that's all. So he said, then that is okay, but this is my experience. I said, yes, this is my experience also. That it is very natural. So the understanding gets colored, understanding gets limited. So this is the case of all common people. So although we all have eyes, ears and other sense organs Can we apply them equally to all objects and thereby acquire knowledge? No, it has so much distraction. The capacity becomes so limited. We have eyes, Vivekananda had eyes. See how much Vivekananda could learn. How could he read so much? Amazing, that he could finish one big volume of Encyclopedia Britannica in a day. Just reading so fast. Why? Because there is no distraction at all. We cannot imagine. He said that, look, I have to just glance at a page. That's it. The whole page, as it were, gets scanned and comes to you. Earlier, you see, that when that easy pass thing came, people had to slow down. That scanner would see the number plate or that tag, and then after about 10 seconds or so, the bar will go up and then you can take the vehicle. Later on, the speed became much more. You don't have to, that stopping was not necessary. Only slow down the car, say 25 miles, and then it had enough time to scan and go. The scanning has become fast. Now on most highways, they don't have it at all. You just drive. The scanning is so fast that while all these vehicles are moving, there are no booths to collect the toll or to stop you. No, just the cameras quickly take that information very fast. And still it is very accurate too. So we can see this, that Vivekananda's was a super scanner. And we all have basically that, but because of our that desires, they so much distraction, things get slowed down so much. It is like once my computer was going very slow. So I asked this Jitendra, he said, and he looked and said, oh, so many things are going on here in the background. Why will it not get slowed down? So he did something, removed all those things which I am not using, closed all those programs and all, and then it became okay, fast. So our mind has so many programs simultaneously open. So there is no concentration happening. Vivekananda's was a super concentration, and so could learn, understand things so fast. If you read his complete works, you will be amazed to see how one person can, in such a short span of life, get so much knowledge, how much he had read, the history of different nations, the art of various countries, the special features of, say, Egyptian art and Greek art, and the culture of the Mesopotamian civilization, their art. Oh, amazing to read that. You say how much knowledge he had just by observation had earned about how the shipping from various ports, what are the, how it works. So amazing engineering, and yet same eyes I too have, but I read, it takes long time and it doesn't get retained. So, therefore, because if the desires are just causing so much interference, naturally it will be difficult to know which Sri Ramakrishna, the mind is so clean. There are no desires. So the observation was tremendously keen, pointed, and well stored also. Both, storing has two aspects, keeping in the right place and the ability to retrieve it when needed. It is like storing, in a big warehouse. These days that Amazon, and they have such warehouses, all so fast that it is, you place an order for something and in a few these things minutes you may get an email, received your order. After another hour or so your order is shipped. Now see how much that storing is methodically done there. Similarly, in our brain, all these things we observe, all the experiences that we undergo, they get stored. But because of the this interference, our storage is like a messed up thing, all it becomes, instead of a library, it becomes a heap of books. Now therefore it happens to me that when I am looking for something, I find everything except what I am looking for. So now what a wastage of time and energy, which Sri Ramakrishna, it is so well stored that right in the pigeonhole and so quickly retrieved when there is the need of it. And this is all because of the cleanliness of mind. One important aspect of spiritual life is to make the mind free from all clutter. So, because that is what causes our life gets so impeded by so many things. Remove the clutter, our vision becomes clear. The capabilities of the mind get enhanced. So look at Sri Ramakrishna. That although we all have eyes, ears and other sense organs, can we apply them equally to all objects and thereby acquire knowledge? Those among us who have less selfishness and desire for enjoyment are capable of achieving knowledge of all subjects more easily than others. Less selfishness. Now this is those who are teachers or educationalists. This pedagogical principle is to be kept in mind, that it is never taught in the regular curriculum in the science of education, but this is such an important thing, that the less selfish a person is, the more capable of learning that person becomes, because of this, that you objectively are able to get it. What an important idea it is. The educationalist must note this, that let us impart this idea that keep your selfishness aside, you will be able to learn better. And if you actually become less selfish, what will happen is your knowledge will become more enhanced, more applicable, better stored and better retrieved at the right time. So it is, we know this, we suffer from this, that because of desires what happens, I know something, but at the time of action it cannot be retrieved. Many times when I am telling some devotee talking, the devotee has some problems, suffering, and then when I tell, but don't you know, Swami, I know all this, I know all this, but that knowledge doesn't come into action at the appropriate time. This is because those desires, selfishness, all that creates impediment in getting that knowledge functional in life. It is there, but it is not functional. So, that is what Swami Saradananda has noted here. And he continues further, it will not be out of place here to cite a couple of examples of that that illustrate how sharp Master's power of observation was even in the normal plane. The Master's amazingly keen powers of observation were evident in the examples, metaphors, and similes he used to explain difficult spiritual truths. With them, he would create vivid pictures and convince his audience of the solutions to particularly intricate problems. It is that keen observation. Sometimes one wonders, where did he see all these things? We see all such things, but we don't see. Again and again that Arthur Conan Doyle's that statement about Sherlock Holmes comes in that, it is that his associate asks him that, oh, Holmes, you must be seeing more than what we see. He said, no, I see exactly the same thing as you see, but I observe. That is a different thing. I notice, I observe. You just let it pass. So this power of observation means when you see, you get all the characteristics of that as different from other things. You see those, that in what respect A is different from B. See, remember, let us see that this is the so-called the worldly experience, not the God is same in all, but each thing is separate from each other thing, except this all-pervading God in them. So, that is that where it is different from other, that is immensely important to know for the practical use of it. It is, Sri Ramakrishna was so much aware of this that yes, A and B, they are different. So, what is to be told to A cannot be told to B, and what is to be told to B cannot be told to A. Although both are divine, we see what he could tell to Girish, he could not tell it to, say, Balram Basu. A different personality is completely, and yet both are getting the message that helps them to march towards the ultimate spiritual goal. So, he says here that it is, for example, one day we were discussing Sankhya philosophy, describing the origin of the universe from Purusha and Prakriti, the Master told us. According to Sankhya, Purusha, it is static. Prakriti does everything. Purusha is a witness to those actions, but Prakriti cannot do anything by herself. She needs the help of Purusha. Now, they heard, but they could not understand it. Now, the example that he gives to illustrate it, he wouldn't have given that example to this kind of audience. They will not be, because the example means what? Something that you already know is used to teach you something that you don't know. That is the use of example. Got it, Charlie? That is how you use example. That how this is done. Okay, look how that person does exactly. That it is monkey sees, monkey does. Means the example of monkey is given so that you also see and do. It is the example has this power, analogy, example. So it has to be relevant. Now the example he is giving is not at all familiar in American parlors. Even in India these days it is not like that. But one has to go back to those days in rural Bengali culture in that mid 19th century, mid 1800 something, and then you can see what it happens there. So, the Purusha, he says the example that it is the master's audience included office clerks, accountants, doctors, lawyers, and deputy magistrates, and school boys and college students. None of them were scholars of this subject. When they heard the master say this, they stared at one another. The master understood their confusion and said, "Hello, haven't you seen what happens in the house during a wedding ceremony?" So, after issuing orders, the master sits and smokes tobacco from a hubble bubble. The mistress runs around the house and supervises all activities. Her sari, that is the cloth, is stained with turmeric, and she welcomes the ladies with hand gestures and animated face. She reports to her husband from time to time, "This has been done this way, and that way. This is to be done, and the others not to be done." While smoking, the master listens, and nodding his head, he assents to everything, saying, "Yes, yes, it is just like that." All laughed. Means all these things happen. So the Sankhyas have these two principles, one active, one passive. The passive is the witness principle, like this master of the house is not actually doing anything, just sits there and nods his head, smokes hubble bubble, that's about it. The lady of the house, his wife, she is running about. Hundreds of guests are coming, each will have to be taken care of, welcome properly, given according to their status. Their status becomes important, social, family status. So one has to be given the respect and treatment according to that, and that lady of the house is very aware of that, so has lot of things to do. What is to be given in gift to the mother of the groom, and she knows that. what is to be given to the other people around, whom to what, their status, that hierarchy, the protocols, lot of things. And she is busy taking care of all this, running about. It is the master of the house, the head of the house, that man is just sitting smoking hubble bubble. So, like that, the conscious principle doesn't do anything in us. The unconscious body and all that, they are doing activity. But body is an inert principle. Body, mind, ego, they are all inert principles. They are acting, they are running about. The consciousness remains still, does not move. That is the Sankhya philosophy. That it is, everything is made of these two principles. We can actually see that, means understand that there is something in me that does not change, remains the same, and something that keeps on changing. But they cannot be separated as such. Means that which is changing cannot change without the unchanging. And that which is unchanging cannot be seen apart from that which is changing. So, this is how the Sankhya philosophy describes it. So, Sri Ramakrishna has that keenly observed how it happens in a big wedding gathering like that. Hundreds of guests are coming. Everything has a particular relation, particular connection, and so it is, the activities are done accordingly. So the active principle, the passive or inactive principle, or the witness principle, the two have been explained by that example. So that we shall take some other example, but not today. Today our time is over. So we shall meditate for a few seconds on what we heard, and then if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. Yes, any questions, comments? Yes, Charlie?
I have two brief stories that illustrate a couple of things you brought up. One time General Eisenhower was in a cafeteria on a military base,
Mm-hmm.
and he was returning his food that he hadn't eaten, and a private pointed out a sign to him, "Take all you want, but eat all you take by orders of General Eisenhower." So he had to finish what he took.
By the order of General Eisenhower.
And the other one, Sherlock Holmes and Watson were camping, and Holmes woke Watson up in the middle of the night and said, "Watson, look up, what do you observe?" And Watson said, "Well, the stars are in such and such a constellation. It looks like it's not going to rain." And he said, "You fool, Watson, they stole our tent."
I didn't get the last one. What did you say?
They stole our tent. The tent. They were camping in a tent.
Oh, okay.
And he was observing all these other things, but he didn't notice.
Oh, that they are in the... Okay, very good. Thank you. Any question there?
Yes, there is a question from Om Tat Sat.
From?
Om Tat Sat.
Om Tat Sat. Oh, wow. Good name. Thank you.
It's a two-part question.
Huh?
Two-part question.
Okay.
First part, how to combine the path of knowledge and the path of love. Second part, does one path go to the absolute and the other to the heavenly region?
One path goes
to absolute
ah.
and the other to the heavenly region.
Well, the answer to first will clarify the other observation, that the path of knowledge and path of devotion, they actually are not that different from each other. When there is the knowledge, how you pursue the knowledge because of love for it. That is, the love makes you move forward even on the path of knowledge. And similarly, what happens when you follow the path of love, you become more and more aware, you know more and more about your beloved. So both these paths actually, they are kind of intertwining with each other, only the preponderance is more in the path of knowledge towards intellectual activity, and in the path of devotion it is not bereft of intellect, but more active role is given to the love aspect of it. And both reach the same one goal of absolute, and if one wants to call that as heaven, that's fine. But in the Hindu philosophy, Vedanta philosophy, the idea of heaven is not same as the ultimate absolute God realization. So the path of love does not lead to that kind of heaven at all. It leads you to the absolute bliss. So there is not that one leads you to absolute, the other leads you to heaven. If you compare, if you call heaven as the place of absolute bliss, then okay, it is same. But the ideas of heaven, that there will be a lot of food to eat and you don't have to suffer for the pleasures, you don't have to, you can order anything like that you want in the restaurant, you don't have to pay the bill and so forth. That is not the heaven. That is the ultimate. If you follow the path of love, one will get to the same absolute. In this book, Swami Saradananda has illustrated it many times at different places, that especially while describing Sri Ramakrishna's sadhana, the spiritual practice of different types, that the path of love and the path of knowledge both lead ultimately to the same goal. It is even Narada is, when he is describing the path of love, shows that the path of love leads you to the ultimate knowledge, ultimate bliss, both. It is the ultimate love is the goal of itself, goal in itself. There is nothing further to it, means it is absolute. That is the idea that is even in the text of religion of love as well as the religion of knowledge, the path of knowledge. Both have that same idea.
Why do so many people think of a heaven where you just enjoy pleasures?
Because that is what they are, that Charlie's question is, why people want that religion whereby they can intensify their pleasures, that we will go to heaven and enjoy this and that. It is because of the innate tendency towards pleasure that precedes and prompts all our activities. We get prompted by the desire of pleasure to do something. Why do you think that you go to Ben and Jerry's? Not to benefit Ben and Jerry's, isn't it? Because of your desire to enjoy, you go there. All activities, if you see, have this motive in common people, the motive of pleasure. So, it is thus, even in the religious activity, you think of the heaven where there will be so much pleasure. In ordinary, our regular search for pleasure, we become soon aware of this terrible fact that we don't like, that every pleasure is accompanied by pain that has to come, that follows it. So, there is an alternation of alternating this thing of sequence of pleasure and pain. So, your mind starts dreaming about a place where there will be only pleasure and no pain. That story you know about it, that man and his wife, they both were leading good life, lived a long life, and but then have to pass away. So after in a very ripe old age, both died, and then they were led to the heaven. And then at the heaven they saw that there are many places to live, but then they started asking, but we are not so rich, these are all such rich places to live. No, don't worry, select what you want, and there is no payment, it is free, of course it is heaven, you say. And then there are these golf clubs, yeah, but how much fee? No fee, you can go to any golf club, these are all nice golf fields. Wow, all free, yes, all free. Then this food and all that is there, food stalls. Oh, we eat all this low carb, we don't have. No, here you can eat whatever you want. You don't have to pay, and you don't have any ill effects of it also. That you can eat all the butter and fats and all, but no cholesterol issues, no diabetes, no problems at all. Wow! And then that husband looks angrily at the wife. It is but for your insistence on that healthy food, a low carb diet, and eat those terribly bad smelling, those flax seeds and such stuff, we would have come here 10 years before, you see. It is, so that is the kind of heaven that, the imaginary, that there will be pleasures, but here every pleasure means what, Richard? Pain. You get that? No, everybody gets that. That you think this will be the acme of pleasure, no pain. You get far more pain than the pleasure. It is, Swamiji says, therefore if the pleasure increases in arithmetic proportion, pain increases in geometric proportions. So that is how the situation here is. So mind then deceives itself and then says, okay, there would be some place. The poets write nice poems about it, that there will be heaven, everybody will be making merry, and there will be only love pouring everywhere, and all that, nobody will ever fall sick. There will be always nice soothing sunshine and so forth. So it is that funny idea, and so heaven, that is how, Charlie, those things come, our that search for pleasure. But if you see that the search of pleasure is actually search for happiness, and that happiness is actually in your nature, it is within you. You don't need to get happiness from anything in the world. In fact, nothing in the world is capable of giving it to you. You are that which imparts happiness to everything. You are the source of happiness. You are happiness itself. So that is where the path of knowledge as well as path of love take us. So, let us conclude with the closing prayers. Coming Saturday, there will be a day-long meditation, the first Saturday of every month that we do it. So, there are certain regulations about it, that you have to come within a certain time and so forth. Yeah. May the Divine, who is Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Ahura Mazda of the Zoroastrians, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the all-loving being manifest himself unto us and grant us abiding understanding and all-consuming divine love. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.